Many of us are worried about being spied on by the government through our social media. But how many people are afraid of other governments spying on them through those same mediums? Well, now it has been revealed three former members of Twitter, three former Twitter employees, have been arrested by the U.S. government on charges of spying for Saudi Arabia. That's right, three employees with significant access throughout Twitter's whole system have been found spying on dissidents of the Saudi kingdom, people who were very heavily critical of Mohammed bin Salman and other individuals inside the Saudi government. One of those implicated in the scheme, according to court papers, is an associate of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who the CIA has concluded likely ordered the assassination of journalist Jamal Khashoggi in Istanbul last year. Yes, Bonesaw. Mohammed bin Salman, that guy. Now, Twitter employees Ahmed Abuamo, a U.S. citizen, is alleged to have spied on the accounts of three users, including one whose post discussed the inner workings of the Saudi leadership on behalf of the government in Riyadh. Now, a second Twitter employee, Ali Al-Zabara, a Saudi citizen, was accused of accessing the personal information of over 6,000 Twitter users. That's a lot of people to go through and a lot of people's information to be collected. So this isn't simply, famous dissidents of the Saudi kingdom. They're going after low-level people if they're going after 6,000 accounts. Like even people who just generally were critical of the Saudi government to begin with are getting targeted by this. I mean, if it's 6,000 people, it would have to be. One of those people was prominent Saudi dissident Omar Abdul Aziz, who later became close to Khashoggi, the Washington Post columnist who was murdered inside of Turkey. Now, prosecutors say a third individual, a Saudi citizen, Ahmed Al-Matari, acted as an intermediary between Saudi officials and Twitter employees. In other words, he was the go-between guy who carried the intelligence from one end to the other, and then in the reverse, orders looking for certain individuals. Now, he has been charged with spying. Now, Azabara and Al-Amari are believed to be in Saudi Arabia. Now, Twitter did respond to the arrest, saying that they restrict sensitive information of accounts to a limited group of trained and vetted employees. This was from a spokesman who spoke on the condition of anonymity to protect the safety of Twitter personnel. They said, "We understand the incredible risks faced by many who use Twitter to share their perspectives with the world and hold those in power accountable. We have tools in place to protect their privacy and their ability to do vital work." Now, this has raised major concern by people who are critical of foreign governments, that a social media platform is being used by foreign governments to censor or at least collect critical information on dissidents against many of the country's policies, social situation, political instability, etc. Yet the same kind of concern wasn't really around when people who were criticizing the U.S. government, people who were criticizing the UK government, who then end up having the police targeting the individuals in question. Of course, Saudi Arabia should not be given such access to silence dissenters, but neither should the US government and neither should the UK government for that matter. And I single those two countries out because they are the greatest abusers of that kind of power. This is not to say the Canadian government doesn't do as well, but not to the degree that the two primary imperialist powers in the world, that being the UK and the United States, use it. Now, some of the media are upset about this. Many of the mainstream political commentators are saying, how dare Saudi Arabia use social media for this kind of control, while they tend to just look the other way when the United States government is doing the same thing for the preservation of the U.S. empire, the thing that their money, their position in the world as mainstream media is built upon. That same empire that they on a daily basis go out and defend the actions of, even when they are reprehensible and beyond defending. Well, the same is true of Israel, who uses the same social media platform to attack people who criticize their genocidal policy. And in fact, don't we see many people who are critical of Israel get taken off of Twitter at the request of Mossad, and probably more likely the Israeli government in general. So we see this kind of abuse all the time. We see this everywhere. Governments using social media as a way of essentially spying on people or collecting private information. And that's going to be what happens to you when you speak truth to power. But this kind of selective outrage on the part of the American bourgeoisie, who are angry that Saudi Arabia dare use their social media platforms to silence dissent, when that's been what they've been doing since day one, and allowing the UK government to do the same thing, and the Israeli government to do the same thing. Interesting how that works. It's only bad when Saudi Arabia does it, but not bad when they do it. And this raises a greater issue. If you speak publicly about power or abuse of power, they're going to come down on you. And if the biggest platform from which you can say it is social media, a medium that is still relatively beyond the control of the bourgeoisie, they can censor people, they can get accounts shut down, they can spy on people, but it's not the same thing as them owning CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, etc. This is something that's accessible to everybody. And no doubt, sooner or later, that's not going to be the case. You're going to be censored by them in general, and they will have that kind of control eventually. Because eventually, that kind of control is going to be necessary to keep dissent from reaching the masses. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.